So Mike says you have a 12-step program now?
Do you want to know the real story of how it got to 12 steps and
Sure.
how coincidental it is? So when I first wrote this, I in order to do job searches myself, I wanted to learn what the best way to do it was, and I started doing research, and then I started writing down this document that I said, okay, here are the 7 steps. Okay, all right, and I was at what was the 7 steps to a highly successful future or something? I forget the name of that. But there were seven steps in some sort of program. I thought that was rather clever. But then as I got smarter and more educated and more experienced, I had to add steps to it, and I ended up with 12 steps. So I thought that was a good way to catch somebody's eye.
Okay.
But
And
it is sequential, and I don't know much about the 12-step program, but I do know that step one, step two, step three, and that's exactly how I wrote this, like a computer programmer would. Do step one, then do step two, then do step three.
so it's a flow chart as much as anything, right?
Yeah, it's a sequence of steps, and then there's some interactions, and you can see if you do step one, how it builds to step two, three, four, and so forth. The stuff
Okay.
that you write down in step one, which is we're recommending a whole bunch of success stories, it shows up in how you write your resume and how do you conduct your interviews.
Why don't you walk us through your 12 steps, just so, and then the other part we'll talk about then is your solicitation of people to send you resumes that you will critique. But let's start with what they need to know actually to build that resume and make themselves look good. So go through your 12 steps.
The key to any job search is that you've got to find the jobs. So there's a whole section in this 12-step document about how to go out and find jobs, and I'll describe that in just a minute. And the second is interview well. In order to interview well, there's a couple of guidelines, and the first one is you've got to know yourself. And so what we recommend, the very first step that you do in our 12-step program is to write down over the last 5 or 10 years some success stories. Now, a success story is, what was the problem I was going to solve? We like the format of PAR, P-A-R. Other people use CAR and SAR and STAR. It's a familiar format. We didn't make it up. And PAR is what is the problem you were trying to solve? What actions did you take or lead? And R is what measurable, and that's critical. What measurable results did you achieve? Write those down on a piece of paper or multiple pieces of paper, and try and shorten each of those to no more than 2 sentences each. So that's step number one. And you're going to use those success stories in creating your resume. And we'll talk about how to create the resume in a minute. And then when you answer any question when people interview you for the job. So that's an initial introduction. If you want me to go through all 12 steps, I might be able to do that off the top of my head, but I'm trying to hit the essence of what's really important.
Sure. Yeah. Let's keep going.
All right. So right now, there's the people. The last several shows we've talked about what the marketplace is like, and it still seems to be slow. And I don't understand it. The economy is better. Inflation increases are way down. People should be hiring. We've got customers who are putting a lot of money back in their company and hiring, but overall, the overall market still seems a little slow. Usually, though, starting in late February, early March, companies who are ready to start hiring start putting jobs out there to hire. They hire recruiters, they post jobs, and people who are looking for jobs. This is a really good time for you to up your game and be ready for these opportunities when they show up. So the first step we recommend is write down those success stories. The second step is basically you've got to create a resume. And the resume, there's a very specific format that we like that's on our website that is a reverse chronology resume, relatively short. It can be 3 or 4 pages long if you like. It doesn't have to be 2 pages long. And then you start marketing yourself. And we recommend you create a marketing program, which is a spreadsheet that has on it people that you're going to network. There's 3 ways you're going to get a job. One is networking with people. 2 is applying online, and 3 is through recruiters. So creating your marketing plan about how you're going to network, how you're going to apply online, how you're going to work with recruiters, this is a good way to start. Write down names of people you want to talk to, names of recruiters you think you want to talk to, names of companies, and then start working that list. Okay, I want to talk to Mike Brennan. Mike Brennan's a good guy. He knows the auto industry. He knows technology. I'm going to meet with him for a few minutes on the phone and say, hey, what do you think? I'm out here looking for a job. What advice can you give me? And what you're hoping to get from Mike is you're hoping to get the names of maybe some people you can talk to. That's not my middle finger, incidentally. People you can talk to, other recruiters that maybe you can know, and maybe funny, and maybe 3 companies that might be good targets. And you start working that list. Most people are going to find their jobs through networking, friends that recommend you to somebody, and that's step number. That's basically how you start your job searches, by networking. All right, it looks like you were going to ask a question there,
Matt.
No,
Matt,
no,
were you?
no.
Oh,
I just wanted you to keep going.
oh, okay, all right. So you now got a marketing plan together, and you start calling people or start emailing them, and you say, give me some help. And you're going to start creating a list of you're going to ask them for 3 things. You're going to ask them for other people you can talk to, names of companies that might be good targets for you, and maybe names of recruiters. And then you use those names they gave you to start contacting other recruiters or other friends or whatever. At some point, if you do this really well, set yourself a target of maybe 8 of these contacts a week. Imagine getting 8 contacts one week, 24 the next week, and whatever 24 times 3, 72 is the next week. You're going to build up a big list of potential contacts, and at some point you got to bring reality to that and parse it down to maybe the top 30 or 40 people, and maybe the top 5 to 10 recruiters you can work with. And using those, you start staying in touch with people, saying, I'm still here looking for a job. You start contacting people and saying, hey, give me some advice on people to contact. You look at online for jobs that might be posted on LinkedIn or Indeed or ZipRecruiter or whatever. You might apply to those jobs. And you keep track of this all in your marketing plan. So a couple of keys to doing that. The first is, if you're networking, make sure you maintain your network, which means anybody you've talked to, get back to them every 2 or 3 weeks and tell them how you're doing. Short email is all you need to do, but you're trying to keep yourself in front of them. You're trying to help them remember you in case they end up with some sort of opportunity down the road that is something that they think you'd be a good candidate for. The second thing is, when you apply online, actually, this applies to whether you network with somebody, whether you apply online, or whether you work with a recruiter. Anytime you apply for a job, you're going to present a letter, you're going to present your resume. And a lot of people say, well, along with that, I'm going to present a cover letter that details why I'm a good fit for that particular opportunity. And the concept of a cover letter is a great idea, except that most people don't read cover letters. So what we're recommending these days, and it's on our website in our resume format, is right near the top of the resume. There's usually a professional summary at the top, and then there's a section that we're going to say qualifications for position of whatever position it is that you're going for. Let's say, excuse me, in our case, it's the Chief Information Officer. Qualifications for Chief Information Officer for XYZ company. And under that, list on your resume, near the top of the first page, 5 reasons why you're a good fit for that particular position in that company. And each of those dot points, and this is critical, should be no more than 2 lines each. It forces you to be succinct. It forces and allows a section that people will actually read. And hopefully, if you do that really well, if you're well qualified for that particular job, then the recruiter will call you back, or the person that received your resume will say, hey, Matt's a really good fit for this particular position. I like his background. Or if you're applying online, whoever's reviewing the resumes during the online posting will say, aha, I'm going to left swipe on this person because I think they're a good candidate that we should talk to. So when you're out there applying for jobs, the critical thing is to make sure that you apply for jobs for which you're qualified, and that the marketing material that you use, which is your resume, is something that looks like you're a fit for the job you're applying for. Now, people say, well, you know, I can do a lot of different jobs. I got this wonderful background. The problem is that so can a lot of other people say the same thing. People don't hire because you might be a wonderful candidate for the job because they think you would be a fit. They pick candidates based upon people who have the experience in the industry that they're working in, people who have experience with the kind of title that they're looking to fill, people who have experience that's broad enough to fit the particular or narrow enough to fit the particular job that they're applying for. So don't apply for a job that you're not qualified for. It's a good idea to write down 5 things that you can put on your resume why that particular job is something that you'd be a good fit for. Along the line, when you do that, the other thing we recommend is think about who your target audience is. So if you're going for a chief information officer job, the target for your resume, for your section that says why you're qualified for that is the CEO or the president of the company. So think like that person. Write down the things that you think are what he or she would want to know about you when they read your resume. And if you do that right, they're going to say, hey, this person understands me, understands my business. He or she is going to be a good member of my executive team because they seem to know what the business is all about. So that's a start. That's sort of the getting ready phase of the thing. You've got marketing material with your resume, you've done your networking, you're out there applying for jobs, and hopefully you'll end up with some people saying, you know, Matt or Mike, you're a really good candidate for this job. I want to hire you for it. But come in and interview with us. And in our 12-step document, there's a whole section on interviewing and different kind of interview questions and the kind of things that make good answers for those kind of questions that you might receive.
This strikes me as absolutely terrific advice. And you're giving this away?
We give this away. It's on our website. You can go read the document. It's something I created for myself, 7 steps many years ago to help in my job search by talking to people. And then I've just added to it. We've been in business for over 20 years, so it keeps getting refined.
Wow.
It's a really good document, if I don't say so myself. It's very informative.
Yeah, this sounds like an absolutely terrific and organized way to approach a job search. It sounds absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, but I've had other people do it. And one of the things that Mike mentioned this earlier, but I'm happy if somebody wants to send me, you know, that you can download our sample resume from the website. You can read the 12 steps. If somebody then takes and reads the 12 steps, it creates their success stories, writes their resume, all right, which includes incorporating some of those success stories and that section at the top that I said, why you're qualified for a particular job. If they want to send me, all right, that resume and a particular job that they're interested in applying for, I'd be very happy to look at the job posting or the description of the job, look at what the resume says, and tell them whether I think they're going to get interviewed, and also offer them some suggestions on what they could do to their resume to be well qualified to be considered for the position that they're applying for.
And then what we talked about was maybe in March, you would then take said resume or whatever material submitted to you, and then you would discuss it or tear it down or break or whatever in March and say, well, you know, this was good to this point, but maybe not so much here, or things along those lines, right?
Yes, I'd be very happy to do that. In fact, as I'm thinking about that, I probably wouldn't want to do it with the name of the individual. I might disguise it, because if I really tear it apart, that wouldn't be fair to the individual. Most people don't write resumes every day, right? We're professionals writing resumes, reading resumes, presenting resumes that work with clients. If you don't do that every day like we do, you wouldn't expect to be an expert. So our advice is always, here's what we recommend to you. Here's why we recommend. You can do with it what you want, but this is based upon our 20 years of experience doing this.